Hey guys, welcome to my channel. It's your girl Omi, and thank you for tuning to another video. So last week we talked about religion versus relationship. If you have not seen that video, go ahead and check it out. Part of that was about purpose, which is what we're going to talk about today, and how sometimes your purpose does not look, whatever God has called you to be, it doesn't look like that from the beginning, but yet God still has a plan for you, even through whatever your beginning may look like. So this is definitely a word of encouragement to those who may be discouraged by your circumstance. Please don't. But I'm going to definitely give you some scriptures that is going to encourage you. So we're going to go ahead and talk about King David. If you guys don't know about King David, he was king over Israel for about 40-something years, give or take. I think it's between like 40 to 45 years, somewhere in between that. He's arguably probably the best king of Israel, or best king that Israel had. He reigned after Saul, and with Saul, he was the first king of Israel. After he had done a couple things that displeased God, God's spirit left, or was planning to leave him, and was bringing someone else to be king. God had spoken this word to Samuel, a prophet, and Samuel was to go and bless that up and coming king so that he would be equipped to be king, right? So in chapter 16, he was supposed to go to Bethlehem to go see Jesse the Bethlehemite, to go and bless him and his sons. And out of those sons, which God was telling him, out of these sons is going to be the king of Israel. So he goes to make sacrifice or whatever. That was God's plan, because if he would have went in there saying, hey, like I'm here to go and bless, the new king, he would have been dead. Okay, so he had to go in there in a particular way to where it wouldn't be such an uproar, because if King Saul found out, it would have been a bad deal for him. So anyways, he goes to make sacrifice in Bethlehem, and he called Jesse and his sons to come to make sacrifice as well. During this time, he goes and blesses Jesse, blesses his sons, and God is speaking to Samuel and saying, okay, Samuel's like, okay, it must be him, right? One of the older sons who was big and strong. And he's like, it must be him. You must be planning to give him this role as king over Israel. And God's like, no, I'm actually not. It's not him. He went down the list. It's not him either. He's like, okay. So he went down through all 7 of the sons that were there. And God was like, it's not any of those. And he said, okay. So he told Jesse, he said, do you have any more children? He said, yes, I have one more son. He's tending to the sheep back at home. So Samuel was like, go ahead and bring that son here. The son's name, David. So he said, okay, boom, bring him here. So he blessed David. Now here's the thing, here's what's going on. David is the youngest of the sons, right? So already nobody was like picking David. Nobody was thinking, oh, it's him. He's the youngest of the sons. He probably wasn't that strong looking, and he definitely didn't look like how his brothers looked like. So off the like rap is like, okay, he did not look qualified for the position, and yet he was. So let's go ahead and fast forward a little bit. God placed him in a position for the king to know him, because when God's spirit was over David after Samuel had blessed him, God's spirit went to David and left from Saul, and God allowed an evil spirit to torment King Saul. And so when he would go through these episodes of torment, he asked, like, okay, if somebody can come and play music for him to kind of calm him down through his situation. And so the servants was like, listen, we know a guy that plays a harp. He's pretty young, but we feel like the Lord is with him. So surely you'll be calmed down. And guess who it was? David. So here we go again. God is go ahead and he's putting David in this particular position to be a blessing unto the king, but also for the king to know him, right? And to know that God is with him. Positioning, okay? He's putting him in position. This particular part of the story is super big for me, right? It was very enlightening, it was definitely given a revelation for me. So in chapter 17 is with David and Goliath, that big story that everybody knows about, right? So let's go ahead and break it down. Israel was to fight the Philistines. Out of the Philistines was this big old giant named David. What? Out of the Philistines was this big old giant named Goliath, right? And he came through like, what's up? I dare one of y'all to try and fight me, right? And all of Israel was scared because they're like, nah, this guy is too big. We cannot fight him. How are we going to win? So they went through different little battles and stuff like that. Nobody was trying to fight Goliath just yet. So all of Israel knew about the situation. Jesse told his son, David, he was not in battle. It was three of Jesse's sons, right, was in battle with Israel. They were soldiers for Israel. And so they were already there, at the fight, right? So Jesse says, listen, son, go and take some food and everything to your brothers. Go see how they look, what they, talk about how they, how are they looking, check their, temperature, see what's going on. And also bring all of these things for the rest of the soldiers that are there. So he does what he was told to do. He leaves the sheep to go and do what he was asked to do. While he was there, he kind of gets a feel of what's going on, right? And so he sees his brother. He runs to go and figure this situation out. He says, hey, what's going on? And they tell him what's going on with the giant, right? And what was said was, whoever is able to kill this giant would get like this blessing, right? And the blessing was like, let me pick up my phone and read. Okay, so in verse 25 and 26 of chapter 17, it says this. And the men of Israel said, have you seen this man that is come up? Surely to defy Israel is he come up, and it shall be that the man who killeth him, the king will enrich him with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Israel. So, 26, David spake to the man that stood by him, and saying, what shall be done to the man that killeth the Philistine, and taketh away the reproach from Israel? For who is uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? And the people answered him after this manner, saying, so shall it be done to the man that killeth him. So boom, he's asking like, hey, so what's going to happen to the man who kills this big old guy, right? Like the giant. They let him know, you're gonna have all these riches, your house, your father's house gonna be free, and what else? You get to marry the king's daughter. So right off the bat, I think he's like, okay, that sounds like a good plan, right? He goes on, right? The oldest brother, Eliab, right? He comes, he starts hating off the rip. Like, what are you doing here? You're always causing mischief. So what's going on? Why are you here? David's like, look, I just want to know what's going on or whatever. And they tell him the same thing, It says that he was able to be brought before Saul, and he told Saul, listen, I can kill this giant. Saul off the rip is like, how? You're a babe, you're a youth, like how are you gonna do this? Okay, so off the rip, Saul is like, how are you gonna do this? You're a youth. And from this giant's youth, he's been, a war. Like, he's been a veteran. He's been too much. Okay, but anyways, he's basically saying that, okay, the giant has been doing this from a long time. He's been fighting for a very long time from his youth. How are you, a youth, going to beat him? And he said, listen, this was his testimony, and I want to encourage you guys right here. He said from when he was over his father's sheep, right, which was his job, his role, there was a lion and a bear that came and took the sheep, or took one of the sheep, and David had to go and get that sheep back. When he did that, he was able to smite that lion. And another occasion, was able to smite that bear. And he had proved himself in these particular situations. Off the bat, when I read this, I'm saying to myself, that daggone sheep is on his own, okay? Because ain't no way I'm fighting a lion and a bear, right? So I was definitely encouraged, because it's like, he was a young boy doing these things, a young person doing these things. And he was saying, surely God was with me then, right? His testimony was God was with him then, to be able to be lifted from underneath the paw of the lion and the bear, and was able to kill the lion and the bear. Surely God will be able to allow me to kill this giant. I'll read it to you just in case. It says in verse 16 of chapter 17, thy servant slew both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing he had defied the armies of the living God. His faith right now was on 100, okay? His faith was up there because God had already proved how faithful he was, like how faithful God is in a particular situation. In this particular situation was when the lion and the bear came to take one of his sheep, and he had to go and get the sheep, fight the lion, and kill him, and the bear. You know what I'm saying? On these two separate occasions. So God has showed his faithfulness in these dark moments in David's life. And so here we go. This particular situation with this giant, the faith that was within David was, I can do this because God was with me then. God is surely going to be with me now. So that was super encouraging. When Saul heard this, he said, go right ahead. Do what you're going to do. He tried to suit him up, right, with the right stuff, which you would need for battle, right? And he was going to go ahead, and he said, listen, I have not proved these items. He had not used these items before. He had not tried these items before to be used. It was like, I forgot, I think a sword. Let me look it up. It said in verse 38, and Saul armed David with his armor, and he put a helmet of brass upon his head, and he also armed him with a coat of mail, right? Y'all know what the chainmail is. All of these things for his protection. And he had to take it off. Verse 39, let me show you. David girded his sword upon his armor, and he essayed to go, for he had not proved it, right? So he stopped himself from going because he had not proved these items just yet. He had not tried these items. He says, and David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them off. 40. And he took his staff in his hand. Please be encouraged by this right here, okay? He took his staff in his hand and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook and put them in a shepherd's bag. This was his job, right? His job previously to this particular point in his life. His job was to be a shepherd unto the sheep. That was his job. And it came with some challenges. And he had already knew when he had to defeat the challenge, the lion and the bear, which he had just testified about. He had to use a stone to kill that lion and that bear. So he had already knew what he was going to do. So he picked 5 stones, 5 smooth stones out of the brook and put them in the shepherd's bag, which he had even in a scrip. And his sling was in his hand. He drew near to the Philistine, right? So we're going to pause just right in there. God had already equipped him with, the ability to do the job by the trials that was in his life prior to this trial over Israel. if that don't encourage somebody. So let me just fast forward. I'm not even going to read the text, but I will say that when he came on to Goliath, Goliath was looking at him like, for real? Y'all brought this little guy to come and beat me, the giant? So all that talking stopped. Here come David with the sling. Boom. One shot with the rock. Popped him right in his head. Popped Goliath right in his head. And boom, knocked him down. Ran up on Goliath, slew him with a sword. Okay, cut off his neck or whatever. And this was this big proud moment because they had defeat Goliath. And everybody cheered and everything was great. And after that moment, he had favor, not just with the king, but he had favor with all of Israel. And that particular moment led him to become king of Israel, right? So there's a lot of other stuff going on. King Saul became a hater and a whole lot of stuff. But the people chose, after that time or whatever, it was a little bit of time after that, but the people chose David to be king. That was an amazing experience for me because I'm looking at this situation, right? We all go through different moments in our lives where it looks dark. It looks super, super, super dark. I've been through many situations. Even I'm gonna go ahead and give y'all a little bit a quick moment of transparency with my own life. But in my own life, after coming to God and leaving school, one of the things that I prayed about was asking God what exactly He wanted me to do in my life. And I took that moment and I prayed about it, and He showed me like exactly what it was, and it was to run a business, and particularly with clothing. And my Lord. And so I'm like, okay, that's cool. I think I can do that. I mean, like, I'm so excited about that. That was not the thing that I thought God was going to have me to do. And so, but I was excited about it, and I left school because that was what, God didn't tell me to stay in school, so I wasn't fin to stay there. So I'm like, okay, cool. Then all of these situations start happening. I moved or whatever to be closer to God, to go ahead and establish the relationship that I needed with God. I moved. I couldn't find a job where we were at. We were in country town, Loganville. Okay? If you guys don't know where that's at, it's a country town here in Georgia. A lot of farm, a lot of stuff. Nevertheless, not city life like how I'm used to. I'm from Atlanta. I'm from the Metro Atlanta area. I'm used to getting on the bus. If I need to get on the bus, get on the bus. I go find me a job easy. So I was left with either finding a work from home job or kind of working from like a Walmart or, some situation. Couldn't find a job for a few months, like a while for me. And that was low. Then I had to work at a Panera Bread. I don't like fast food. This is, at the time I was probably like 20, 21 maybe. I think I just turned 21. So I'm like, no, this isn't what I wanted to do with my life. I had applied to so many jobs and could not get a job. And so I'm like, okay, I don't want to be doing this, but this is what I need. I need some money, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. And that is what I ended up doing for about a good year and a half. I was able to learn different things in that job. I was able to help train people. I did become a trainer at the job. Different like managerial roles started becoming very clear to me. I was able to open up the store or set up like a particular part of the store early or whatever. I had a lot of roles at that particular job. Then that led me eventually to becoming a manager at a Dollar Tree. And I'm here looking at it like this, like, okay, Lord, when is this particular moment in my life going to happen where I can start doing what you call me to do, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm still not where I wanted to be. I'm still not where God has showed me he's going to have me at. But okay, I started learning more skills, right? I become an assistant manager at a Dollar Tree. I started another job around the same time that I started to work at a Dollar Tree, which was at a Sonny's Barbecue. And within the first month of me being there, they said, hey, we want to start you off. We want to go ahead and make you a manager here as well. It was an assistant manager role. I think it was like right under there. I don't know. But it was paying around the same as my other job was paying. And so I just opted not to do it. I just kept both of the jobs part-time. But it also was very uplifting that I was, I guess in a way, looked at like, okay, this girl has some skills, right? These are skills that I obtained by being low, by being humble, because if I would have said no to working at Panera Bread, I wouldn't have been able to gain the skills that I was able to get by humbling myself and doing the job. So that's one thing, right? And so even so, when I look at those things, I'm just like, God had brought me into these positions, right, to prepare me for my journey, right? It does not always look very cutesy, okay? It doesn't always look like, oh my gosh, like I'm just living and da 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 da. Like, no, when God is doing a work in your life, he brings you into a low status to exalt you, right? To exalt you. I think of the scriptures where it says, those who exalt themselves, God is going to humble, and those who humble themselves, God will exalt. It's in Matthew. I'll put it on the screen somewhere. But that makes me smile, just that. I think of all of the trials that I've gone through in my life, right? Number one, I was living with someone, and their house, I was living with somebody, and their house, from out of like the sockets or whatever the case may be, like there was just water flooding from the ceiling. Like it was just terrible. It got on all of my things, and I was in a stressful situation, like super stressful situation at this moment, because earlier that morning, I was at Panera Bread, what I was just telling y'all about, right? I was at Panera Bread, cut my finger. I was like, dang, had to go get stitches. They didn't send me home with pain medicine. So now I'm at home, I'm hungry, I'm sleepy, and I'm in pain. And all of a sudden water starts falling from the ceiling. What a time. So that moment was like, dang, I lost a lot of stuff, right? Moving on. By the way, God did replenish the things that I had lost. Not all, but, and not in the specific how I thought it would be, but God did replace what I had lost. So then moving on to another situation or whatever, where I was not working, and so I had to go live with somebody else. This was after me, after being injured on the job and stuff. And their house, after about a month of me being there, their house caught on fire. And here it goes again, where I'm like being like displaced, and yet, and also losing things. So I'm just like, wow, all of these things happening, and now I'm in my own place, which I'm super grateful for. But wow, all of these things happen to me in my life. And even, let me go ahead and humble myself too. Like, let me go ahead and encourage you. My body has been afflicted with pain. It's been afflicted with weakness. And I'm not able to work, and I don't have the strength that I used to have. But also, I'm so encouraged by this word, because look at God. God used David in this particular situation, right? Where he did not look the part. He did not have the skills that everybody thought, skills or the resources that everybody thought. He did not have the skills that people would think a king should have, and yet he became one of the greatest. Huh? What? Say what? Like that has got me like feeling full of joy, because number one, this does not, my story does not negate, or my beginning does not negate the purpose and the plan that God has for me. In fact, he's using my trials to exalt me to where he wants me to be in my life. That is my purpose, right? So be encouraged, to the person who is watching this, be encouraged, because God is going to use your low moments, right, to bring you high. He's going to use it. He's used it in several, not just David. He used it with Joseph. He used it with Moses. Moses was supposed to lead the people out of Egypt and into the promised land. And in between those times, he was also supposed to talk to God and take whatever God was telling his people, whatever God was telling Moses to do, Moses was to tell the people to do. He was God's voice box. And Moses had so many excuses. He had so many reasons as to why he could not do that. He couldn't speak well, okay? Like, there were so many different things. He's like, why me? And God will use, even with your challenges, with your low moments in your life, with your trials, he will use you to get the job done. He will. So be encouraged that, listen, whatever you are going through, whatever your situation might be, if it makes you even feel a certain way, where it's uncomfortable, be blessed. Have hope in the fact that God will use this moment to bless. He will bless this moment. He's going to use that particular thing. He's trying you in this area. He's proving you in this area, so that when your Goliath comes around, you know how to defeat it. That you already know that you can call upon the Lord and he will be there and he will help you defeat. I think that's it, y'all. That's all that I have. I know this video was a little lengthy, but man, I hope you guys were blessed. I really do, because just remembering these scriptures, it is blessing me. Like, wow, God will use your weak moments to show his strength in your life. Yeah. I love you guys. I hope that you were blessed by it. And yeah, go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I am going to be making more content that is faith-based, more sit down and talks, little chats, whatever. And I'm going to use it to encourage you, not just to encourage you into, just positive things, but even in the things that, are uncomfortable and are not the best, because I don't want to just encourage you, but I also want to help to keep you accountable, and help you to even focus on the things that God wants you to be focused on, man. I'm super excited. I'm high and lifted up. Mark my words. What God has called me to be, I will be. And so, though my circumstance looks a particular way, it is not, okay? It is not always going to be that. It is not. Your beginning is not your end. How you start is not how you finish. Hello? Okay? The journey. God is proving you. Oh my gosh, I cannot stop talking about this. God is proving you. Let him prove you. Enjoy the moments. Ask God to show you what you can learn from this situation. Ask God to show up for you in this particular situation, and take what it is that you need. so that you can be blessed. And in turn, bless others. Hello? All right, that's it, y'all. I am out of here, and I hope you enjoyed the video, okay? Bye.